basic elements of music: beat, tempo, and meter. As you watch this video, look for the words that are in red. These are the ones that you need to know, like timing. Timing for musicians is everything because music only exists in time. Now, musicians divide time into beats, equal divisions of time. So there are many ways that we measure them, but normally it's beats per minute, and it falls into the range that your heartbeat might fall into. So we use these machines to measure time, and probably in the old days we used this thing. This is an old-fashioned metronome, and it looks like this. Has a little swing inside. Okay, so to make it slower, you just put this little weight closer to the top. Those of you who are physics majors. Okay, to make it go slower. And along this little thing here, it reads different beats per minute. So this is a mechanical metronome. I also have this one, which is also now kind of old. It's a Yamaha metronome, looks like a spaceship. I'm sure at the time it was very modern. It's electric. It has a maximum of 2 different sounds, that and it's actually still pretty useful because it's just so simple, and you could speed it up by turning the little knob here, and you can slow it down. Okay, classical musicians need these things because even though we should be able to keep a steady beat, when we're playing our instruments, it gets a little bit challenging at times, the music, and it makes us slow down and speed up. And these metronomes keep us honest and make sure that we are keeping a steady beat. Now, we also use terms, Italian terms, to talk about how fast the beat is going. So you see in the back of here, these numbers are actually the beats per minute. Classical musicians use these very subjective terms such as grave, largo, larghetto, adagio, lento, andante, moderato, allegretto, allegro, vivace, presto, and prestissimo. So from slower to faster, if you ask a classical musician what these terms mean, we could just kind of generally say, well, if you say grave, that's very slow, largo is very slow, lento is very slow, allegro is fast, and presto and vivace are the fastest tempos. Now, I recommend that you memorize these if you're interested in classical music, because a lot of classical music uses these tempo markings just as titles, the sole title of a composition, like this adagio. And I'll set my metronome to a rather slow beat. So maybe. Two, three. Now you notice sometimes I have a lot of notes in one beat and sometimes fewer. So for example here, 2, 3. But down here, I'm going to be going a lot faster. So don't get confused. We're going to talk about the speed of the notes later, but the beat doesn't change. And when you're listening to music, classical music, you don't hear the beat. There's no steady pulse. There's no drums. There are no drums usually in the background keeping the beat. You just hear the music, the patterns of these notes. So the beat is something you don't normally hear actually in the music as it's playing. The meter is the grouping of these beats, and they're usually grouped in 4s, 2s, or 3s. So the most common grouping is 4 beats. And here you could see them kind of grouped together with a line dividing them. So the line is a measure number, it's a bar line, and I could play the scale sort of emphasizing the first beat of each. And the next one, the 3/4, sounds like this. So I'm emphasizing a little bit where the first beat is in each group. So these are the symbols for these groupings. Four beats together is so common, we call it common time, and sometimes you'll see it indicated in the music as a C. If we chop that in half, we get 2 beats grouped together, and it's called cut time. Cut time is often used for marches, so we'll see that in a second. The next most common one is 3/4. So 3/4 means that there are 3 beats grouped together. And this is used in certain kinds of dances like waltzes, minuets. The 3 is the number that we're concerned about right now. It means 3 beats are grouped together. How do you find the meter when you're listening to it? How do you find these groupings when you're actually listening to a piece of music if there is no beat underlying it? All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of an example. The first step is to clap the beat. You can tap it if you want. Okay, so if you're tapping the beat, okay, so the beat is something like this. Now, what you're listening for is the downbeat. The downbeats are the beats that get emphasis. So you might listen for something that's a little bit louder. You sense that it's being emphasized. And it could be in the melody, it could be down here in the bass, or just in general. So listen for that as you clap the beat. Where is it? Okay, and if I nod my head on those downbeats, okay, so you should notice how many beats are grouped together. The answer is 2. So it's going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And hopefully you'll hear this music play for you really soon. It could be played at that speed, or if you want to get everybody in really quickly, right? So the tempo can be sped up if you want everybody to walk in really fast, or if you have just a small graduating class, maybe you would play this a little bit slower and more grandly, you know. It just depends on how many students you have. Okay, now let's look at something a little bit different. So if you're clapping the beat, you have a couple of options here. You might feel this. But you notice the beat here is very slow, and your heartbeat might not go quite that slow. The other option might be this. That's pretty fast. That's a really kind of excited beat, but that is the beat. Now, can you find the downbeat? And how many beats? How many are grouped together? Well, this happens to be a waltz. So the beats are grouped in 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So this is a very graceful dance, and if you've ever watched people waltzing, they kind of look like they're floating across the floor. I think of the movie Beauty and the Beast, where you see like they wear those long dresses and they're spinning around on the dance floor. All right, I'll play one last one. See if you can tell me what this is. First, start by clapping the beat. Okay, so I hope that you were clapping like this. And if I count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. So this is also a march. It's in a fast 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You certainly could march like this, left, right, left, right. This is, of course, Mozart's Turkish march, and it's supposed to imitate a Turkish band, and you hear kind of like this percussion in it. It's this. And if you've ever heard a Turkish band, they are very loud and percussive. The instruments sound like brass instruments. So it has that kind of quality, and that's what Mozart was trying to capture in the Turkish march. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one when I talk about the different note values and the rhythm. See you then.